Thank you, Beth. We're going to move over to talking about what the C-suite thinks of all this and talk about how sustainability looks from the corner office. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the CEO of JLL Jones Lang LaSalle, Colin Dyer. Colin?
How are you, Joe?
Good, welcome. So for people who don't know JLL, give us the thumbnail elevator pitch.
Gosh, so we're an international real estate services company. What does that mean? We provide corporations and owners of real estate with services around their buildings. So for your companies, for example, we might find, construct, refit, manage, lease, buy, sell the real estate that you use in your businesses. We also have a big investment management business with about $60 billion of real estate investments around the world, which we manage on behalf of big institutional owners of real estate. 60,000 people, 240 offices, 60 countries around the world.
Fortune 500 company, I think, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So you recently learned that, and you tell me, I'm not sure how you learned it, so you can tell a little bit of the backstory, that the company just has a strong sustainability ethic and a strong ethics ethic. That most of your employees didn't really know, maybe 90 or 95% didn't really get what sustainability is. What was the story there?
Well, I think we break down our sustainability journey into two phases. The first one was started about a decade ago, and I mean, I don't claim to be instrumental in many things within our organization, but this was one where I thought that actually if we could, with our unique position in the built environment, if we could help our clients to make their real estate more efficient from an energy perspective, then we'd be doing more than just growing EPS as an organization. It's not widely known, but carbon buildings produce about 35% of the world's greenhouse gases. And therefore, if we can help our clients run their buildings more efficiently, that would be a considerable input and help to the overall sustainability agenda on a global scale. So we started out with that thought, and we started to hire professionals, led by Dan Probst, who's here in the audience. And we've gathered up 45, 50 specialists in the US, but from that we've spawned about 1,500 lead professionals. We are the organization with the most lead professionals as employees anywhere in the world. And we started to help our clients with this agenda of improving the efficiency of our buildings. At that point, the majority of our organization didn't think this was a particularly important agenda and didn't get it, as you said, Joel, initially. But as we began to work on this, as we broadened the agenda, as our CFO at the time took ownership of this broader agenda, we began to push it out through the organization, and we made everybody realize that actually it was a good business. We could earn money helping our clients to become more efficient, but we were also, in doing so, developing an agenda which was actually part of our own internal social responsibility agenda as an organization. So it began to grow out from helping our clients with their real estate and their cost needs through to a socially responsible program within our organization.
So I think a lot of people in the audience will relate to this from their perch in sustainability in large companies, in that the company has a strong commitment, the CEO gets it, there's a 3 or 5 pillar plan of what that means, sustainability or corporate responsibility, but pushing it down through the rank and file is a big challenge. And so I'm wondering, from the CEO perspective, how do you think about how to do that, or even why it's important to do that? What's the value to the company of getting, because you have 1,500 people, that's 2.5% of your employee base. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of these people wish they did. So why is it important to go beyond that, and how do you just view that from a business strategy perspective?
Well, the starting point, I think, for any of you, if you want to make sustainability as a broad topic, if you want to take it up the agenda within your organization, it's to work out how you can make it relevant to the actual business, driving revenue within your organizations. I described our case where we can actually help our clients make their buildings and their real estate more efficient, and therefore their companies are running more efficiently. And if you can find a way of showing your business people, your CEO, if you can get access, how you can help with your agenda help drive the overall business imperative, then your street cred goes up. And it's really that takes the sustainability up the agenda and into the C-suite and gets people's attention. So that's one thing. The other things that from a CEO perspective I've found have been really useful with not just the energy efficiency agenda, but also the broader things that we do within sustainability in ensuring that our organization is relevant, not for the last 250 years that we've been around, but for the next decade, for the next century or two. But in broadening the agenda, we've realized that it's actually a very powerful attractor for employees. People like to work for an organization that has goals which are widely viewed to be goals that are helping a broad global sustainability agenda. It helps attract clients because many of our customers like to work with an organization that's got 1,500 leader credits. And I just lost some sound there. It just adds to the tie-in that we have with our customers, our clients. So it helps employees, it helps with clients, it helps us attract other businesses to be acquired into our organization. Again, people like to be acquired and to be owned as part of an organization that's got values beyond just driving EPS. And the final surprise has been that, particularly over the last 5 years or so, the impact investment community, the ethical investor community who bought into our organization, we have regularly about 15% of our stock held by those sorts of investors. That's expanded now, and many mainstream investment organizations, funds managers, are looking for companies that have these sorts of agendas clearly stated and properly driven down through their organization because, surprise, surprise, they've discovered that businesses that espouse those sorts of agendas are actually good investments because they generally do very well in what they do.
One of my colleagues, John Davies, runs a membership group of sustainability execs from companies like yours, big companies. I think Dan may have actually have come to that for a time. And John says that one of the chief sustainability officers should really be called chief translation officers. Yeah. Because a lot of what they do, what these people do, is translating stuff. Talk about the translations in your company that you need to see happen in order to really achieve this goal of widespread buy-in.
Yeah. Well, we started out with this internal program called Building for a Cleaner Tomorrow, ACT. That was our decade ago program. But as we broadened the sustainability agenda to cover ethical behavior, legal compliance, corporate compliance, our local largely, corporate responsibility programs, engagement in society, all the things that I believe you should be doing to be a good corporate citizen in the world. But as we expanded that, driven by Mark Oringer, who's our general counsel, and with me has a seat in the boardroom, we realized that the organization wasn't getting this and wasn't seeing this as a real business imperative, which could help to elevate our position in our market, in our competitive set. And so we rechristened the ACT to Building a Better Tomorrow. And if you think about that, that's a broad umbrella with which we can talk to the organization about we're doing all the things I just mentioned in order to build a better tomorrow for our company, to ensure a better tomorrow for our company. And by the way, our company is, in our case, 60,000 people around the world, and therefore we're building a better future for them and the people that they bring into the organization as they hire and grow their businesses. So the important thing, I think, is once you've got a group of leaders who buy into the agenda, you've got to work out how to market it within the organization. And finding what works within your business to get people's imagination and to get their buy-in is an essential part of being able to make rapid progress and, to your point earlier, Joel, to drive it through the organization. By the way, people think CEOs are kind of, you take a decision and stuff happens. The worst way to get anything done in our organization is for me to have a bright idea and tell everyone about it. The best idea is to tell the people in our business that our customers are asking us to do certain things. And in this case, what you'll also find from the people in your supply chain, up and down your supply chain, and your investors probably as well, and certainly your fellow employees, is that there's actually a much broader imperative of people who are important to the economics of your organization who are telling you you need to adopt these sorts of agendas and change. And in our case, that means that this message is coming up from the ground roots of the organization and not so-called top-down.
I hear this a lot from CEOs. They say, because in the conventional wisdom in business schools or articles and publications is, around, greening or creating a sustainable business is get CEO buy-in. And I talk to a lot of CEOs like you who say, I'm in, I get it. And the people at the bottom get it. It's that impenetrable wad of resistance in the middle called middle management that is so incredibly adept at thwarting change.
Yeah.
How do you get through that? How do you make sure that the bottom up really filters up?
You touched a few nerves there when you said that.
Yeah, well, I think nervous laughter, yeah, that's me. Not you, but your company. And so how do you get through that? Because that seems to be a barrier for so many enlightened CEOs like yourself.
Well, we don't have a huge middle. We're a pretty flat organization by definition, so that helps. We don't have that resistance in the middle. But I've been in organizations that do have that, and so I know exactly what you mean.
Right, you come from manufacturing sector.
And manufacturing has a middle manager sector. To sort of, in the defense of the middle managers, they're the people who are actually under a lot of pressure from the top and from the bottom, and they've got to deliver all the time. So their imperative is really today, tomorrow, and next week at the latest. And so anything that gets in the way of the job and delivering and doing the company's work rapidly and efficiently is kind of superfluous, and they don't want to know. So what you have to do is work out, as I described earlier on, how do you work out how sustainability can be imperative for the company's economics? How can you make being sustainable useful to them? And if you can think that through and give them some hooks and some incentives, then you'll get them. But I mean, just think about the conversation we had earlier about being empathetic in India. If you understand, if you can empathize with the poor middle manager, work out what makes his life better, then you'll make some progress in this.
One of the things you see in manufacturing has been this whole parade of ideas and concepts, total quality management, Six Sigma, Kaizen, just-in-time management, and a whole bunch of others. And some of them come and go, at least in terms of top-of-mind trends. Are you concerned that sustainability becomes one of those flavors of not the month, but of this era, and then it's going to be hard to keep that momentum going?
Well, if I could go into our industry a little bit. A decade ago when we started, there was some interest on the part of corporates in the sustainability and energy efficiency agenda, but not a lot. What's happened over the last 10 years is that agenda of being a good corporate citizen has spread a long way through corporate America and global corporates as well. Why? Because people like you and your colleagues have sort of demanded the corporation change the way it operates. And so that's been a process that hasn't gone backwards, it's continued over the last 10 to 15 years. If you look on the other side of our business equation, the people who build and own buildings, offices, the ones that you sit in, they had absolutely no interest in sustainability a decade ago. They thought it was extra cost, 10% more expensive to build anything, and they weren't interested. Well, finally, they've been listening to their ultimate customers, which are the tenants in their buildings, and they're changing as well. This is kind of, in my perception, a one-way trip. That's the narrow energy efficiency. You can add water efficiency, you can add access to transport, all of the broader sustainability agenda. That isn't going backwards anytime soon. So no, I don't think it's a fad or a fashion. I think it's more like, as I was a manufacturer, we had waves of the regulations around health and safety, the regulations on EPA, and you couldn't pollute rivers anymore. We were really annoyed as manufacturers when they came in. We thought, this is adding to cost, it's getting in the way of being a capitalist, and please get out of our way. But actually, when you got those regulations and implemented them, you realized they're actually making you a better business. And in making people a better business, nobody backslid. They just became part of the fabric of the way manufacturing operates. Well, I think this is the same agenda, that sustainability in the narrow and the broad sense, being a good corporate citizen, is actually making businesses run better. I know we run better because we have, for example, a major ethics program as part of this Building a Better Tomorrow, which means our legal costs have gone down because we have less bad things happening within our business, between us and our clients, and between us and our suppliers, because we're paying huge attention to this ethical agenda around the world.
And you publish every year your ethics stats. You publish in, I guess, in your annual report or some report, you put out there, it says maybe a dozen different metrics and how many infractions or how many in violations of your internal code or legal issues. That's really interesting. I don't see a lot of other companies doing that. What's behind that?
Yeah, well, we think it's, I mean, we operate in a lot of countries which are not very ethical. India, you heard about the bribery situation in India, China, Russia, a lot of South America, Africa. And we operate a zero-tolerance policy around ethics. And what we know about those countries, particularly the real estate industries in those countries, is if you can open up the information and shine a light on the data, good things happen. And so in our case, we said, well, if we just publish the stats on how many times we got sued or the number of our employees who were filing complaints for whatever sort of behavior, from harassment to non-respect of corporate codes, then actually we were publishing data, and then we could go and deal with it. And it's this whole thing about what gets measured gets managed. Well, actually what gets published gets the attention of the board and gets the attention of our employees around the country, around the world. And by the way, also, it gets our clients' attention. And they say, well, that's brave. Tell us how that works. And it actually, when you're prepared to be that honest with your clients, it creates a bond with them as well. So it's, again, where you can take sustainability and make a business case, less legal costs, better client bonding, more respect from clients because you are doing things in a sustainable, corporately responsible way. That's translating an agenda into a business imperative and therefore into dollars and cents for the company and the shareholders.
Let's see if we can get in a quick question. Lauren?
Yeah, one of the big topics that's come up over the past couple of days when it comes to companies meeting their emissions goals is looking at access to clean energy as a big site selection criteria, especially with data centers. Is that something that you're seeing yet as an emerging trend?
It is. More with the big energy users, the obvious energy users, the industrial, warehousing, data center sector, where siting will be based on a number of criteria, seismological, for example, stability, risk spreading criteria, but energy is certainly a big one of them. And you may have seen recently that one of the major tech companies was looking at putting their server farms in the ocean because actually it's got free cooling down there and takes the energy load down. So I think that's part of a broader agenda around people realizing, companies realizing that their real estate footprint is actually a source of carbon emissions, but also cost. Every one of your companies is sitting in at least twice as much space as you need. We know that with certainty because we do lots of studies along those lines. Basically, the average desk is occupied 30% of the work week. So if you can rearrange the way you work and do shared desking approaches, then you can already have the footprint you need. We can go into any portfolio of office or any sort of real estate and by simply readjusting all of the equipment, take another 20% out of the energy cost. If you invest with a 3-year payback horizon, you can get another 20%. So your 100% footprint, 100% energy cost, you can take down to 30% with planning and some investment. And getting that message through to organizations is actually quite powerful because it means that you get the attention of the CFO because he's seeing the possibility of actually taking some costs out of his business and adding some money to the bottom line by being more efficient around the way in which you use your corporate real estate.
Well, so much of this conversation is about getting messages through to the CFO and HR and so many others, and ultimately through the organization and to your customers and hopefully someday to your shareholders. So, but that starts with you at the top, and thank you so much for your leadership on all this. Please join me in thanking Colin Dyer.
Thank you.